Everybody. This is welcome to the Government Operations and Regulations Committee. I'm Emily Benedict, the chair of the committee, and it is Tuesday, September 20th. I do detect a quorum with council members Cash, Parker, Withers, Young, and me. So we have 5. And we just have one item of business today, and then I do have one announcement that I want to make when we wrap that up. But the first item, the sponsor is Councilmember Parker, and it is BL 2022-1405. It amends the Metro Code to permanently extend the provisions for countywide sidewalk cafes. Could I get a motion? And it might be by the sponsor.
Yeah, I'll move it.
Second. Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm gonna move to defer this here.
Second.
And thank you. If I could have just a moment to
Oh.
give folks an update. So this is a piece of our overall outdoor dining policy here. This is the sidewalk cafe portion. So this is the use of the public right-of-way, not in the road, but on the sidewalk. Been working with the administration and with INDOT, with Director Alarcon, as well as Civic Design Center on kind of improving this, tweaking a little bit before we go in and try to make it permanent, which is what this bill sought to do. And everybody's largely on the same page and working toward the same goals. So I just need a little bit more time to have those meetings and get it as good as we possibly can. So I would ask for a 2-meeting deferral on this.
2 meetings. Okay. So we have a motion for a 2-meeting deferral and a second. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so our one item of business is done. The other thing that I wanted to talk about with the committee, so I'm sorry that I wasn't here a couple of weeks ago. We had a vacation, a scheduled vacation, but thrilled to be the new chair of this committee. And I know that, so we do a few things. This committee mainly works with codes administration, with ITS, and also with Metro HR annually for the pay plan. And so one of the things that I'd like us to really focus on this year, and I'll have more details and a plan coming, but I'm going to have the codes department come in and talk to us on a regular basis. And then on the pay plan, I'm working with Director Hall to see how we might be able to work together to ensure that the pay plan, when it comes to us at budget time, that we are, sometimes it's a crash course for all of May and all of June as we work through the budget. So if there's things that we can do as a committee to get out in front of that and understand that, that would be the goal there. On the codes front, we continue to see press, and I know each one of us gets calls all the time about codes, whether that's codes violations, whether that's codes is taking a long time for things. And so I've asked Director, he's also Director Hall. So, Interim Director Hall, to come in and talk with us on a regular basis. I do not know yet what that will be. It'll be a minimum of quarterly that we'll hear from these folks to understand what their struggles are, but I'd like it to be monthly, so it'll be one of the meetings a month. So again, more to come on that as I work to put that together here in the next week, and we'll look for those types of updates. And if you have ideas like that, please send them through the council office so I can address them in our committee as well. Councilmember Cash?
Yeah, there was something that came out in the scene about a month or 2 ago, and it seemed like there was some activity about like rethinking legislation. It sounded like the mayor's office was gonna do some reviewing on
property standards.
Codes, Nashville scene article.
People picking on people.
On one hand, we've got
snitching
over aggressive codes reporting, but on the other hand, and I partly bring this up because I've gotten some emails and calls in the last month that there seemed to be in my neighborhood or in my district what was called the Vandy 21st sweep, or maybe sweep's not the right word, but Vandy. Basically, they've been going around and looking for codes violations without them being reported. So I've got, for example, I got one guy that had expired tags on his new van and was dinged for having an inoperable vehicle in his driveway, which it was not. It was not inoperable. It's just the tag was expired, which is not a codes thing. But so I hope that, and I don't know if there's legislation that other council members are working on, but I think it's a big hairy monster that, on one hand, we want to make sure that they're not being too aggressive. On the other hand, we do want to make sure that serious things are addressed. So
And I
When you
think
say
that's-
deemed, could you
okay.
say more about that, please? Like, was the,
He
did the person
was
receive
issued
an
a
abate notice?
violation. He was issued a violation.
So he had an abate notice or a violation? Like, did
I don't-
codes mail him a letter that says that
Codes
you have
ma-
30 days to correct it, or?
Codes mailed him a letter and said they would be coming back.
Yeah.
He actually called them and was told, I think somebody kind of said, well, we're doing this with the council, which is like, I did not ask him to come look at your van. They're coming back to check, and he said, well, what if I'm out in my van? And he's like, well, then we'll know it's operable, which is like dinging somebody for an inoperable van when they can't verify if it's operable.
So I think.
I don't wanna go.
If I could, if I could gain control
Sorry.
of my committee here,
Sorry.
our committee. So this is exactly why I want to have this dialogue, because there are misses that we have right now, that the public knows are misses, and they might be misses from, a miss that they got that wrong for the van in somebody's driveway. There might be a miss where somebody has, I'm saying there might be misses out there. There might be misses where people who are looking for permit sign-offs aren't going the right direction. So there are blind spots all the way around on this, and the whole purpose is to find out what can we do better to serve the public? What processes do we need to change in order to serve the public best? And also, what things have we not looked at that we need to be looking at? And so that's and this all absolutely did come as the result of the article in the Scene on code snitching. It made me start thinking, what do we need to do? And then I became the chair of this committee. I thought, let's really take a focus on this to see what we can do to improve the experience for our citizens with the codes department, whether it's a violation, a permit, or whatnot.
I want to say a couple of things, just in response to your, the sweeps. So it's my understanding that codes will both, like if there's an individual complaint, they will go inspect that complaint, and then they will kind of float around the area, and also just so it's not like a very obvious targeting and it's more fair, I don't know. And then they also do like routine audits, like they do those in my district at times. Like when I get my reports, I'll see that like, oh, they hit Jones Circle, and every violation's tagged in Jones Circle with some pretty intricate detail. So they do that just sort of like routinely. It's not it doesn't necessarily come at a council member's request or anything like that. The other thing that, I will say, I try to do everything as up to code as possible. And if I can't do it, then I have a hard time expecting anyone to do it. And one of the things that I really am like not super clear on, having read through it a few times, is like the vehicle repair stuff. Obviously, we do not want people leaching fluids into the ground. We don't want people running commercial businesses in their yards. But what does substantially inoperable mean? The moment I pull the alternator off, the car won't start. But that's a DIY job. That's a job that somebody with a basic tool set and a YouTube video can work out themselves in their driveway. Not everyone's at it, but the vehicle is inoperable until that new alternator goes on. But it's not a seized engine. It's not been torn apart. It's not but. So that's a standard that I would like to see more clearly defined, because if we define it in such a way that I'm a big repair DIY enthusiast. If we define it in a way that I'm comfortable with, then I feel like I might have less issues with sort of focused application or disparate application of that rule.
So, and I think the question there then also becomes, are you changing that alternator on your car or her car?
Oh no, I run a
And-
business out of my
That's right. No, that's exactly one of the concerns as well. So, but I think that this is awesome, because what I would love to do is, if you have ideas like that, if you could email them to the council office. Hannah, do you want?
Sure, yeah.
All right. So, ideas that you have that you'd like us to see looked at within codes. I'm going to be meeting on a regular basis with them, on a weekly basis, probably. And again, this is all just coming together right now. But these are things that I can bring up with them and see, again, what are we missing there? If there's, how do we explain to people that codes comes out for a violation that was called in, and then while they're there, they use that time to hopefully keep the area up to code standards, right? Not that they're picking on anyone. Now, if they are picking on someone, then we need to address that as well. So, Councilmember Young?
Not to beat a dead alternator, but no, I didn't have a point. I thought of that line and I just couldn't let it go.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to get into a specific issue, but there are issues out there, and I'm glad that you're. I wanted to hear exactly what you said, that we need to kind of look at different things, need a way to communicate about them, so that because I think that's what's tough for us, is we can individually come up with, and maybe the new internet forum thing that we're doing
Oh, right.
can help.
Bang the table.
Just
What do
kind
they call
of
them?
making a sense of all the different things that 35 or 40 of us are dealing with and turning that into meaningful legislation. You know, we don't want to make legislation out of every little thing on one hand, but
And that's the whole thing. Some of these things I think can be done via policy within the department. Some of these things are things that they're doing already in codes, but maybe they don't have a good way of communicating it to who their customers are. And so maybe it's something, again, internally that we see as a problem from our constituents, but they don't really realize what an easy fix it would be for the thing that's confusing the public.
Well, and if I
So
could-
that's what this is hopefully for.
If I could, yeah, and one other thing just about the specific issue with the vehicle repair, you know, the most substantial complaints that I get from constituents are people that are doing vehicle repair in the right-of-way, which, would that even be covered by codes? Because codes covers property.
No, that's a police.
If it were an abandoned vehicle past the 10 days that the notice is put on it, then we'd come pick it up. That is not a
But if
codes issue.
if I wanna redo the top end of an engine over the course of 9 days in the public right-of-way, there's currently no rules against that.
Codes, don't believe. I believe that would be NDOT.
I believe actually it's the police department to come out and ticket it.
The traffic division would
Yeah,
come out.
the
and
traffic
ticket it.
division comes out and tickets it, and then whatever the process is from there, as I understand it.
Well, I would like to get I don't know, I can look into that more and just try to work with codes to kind of get a sense of like, there's also inoperable vehicles, I think is something that we're gonna want to take a look at, generally, because right now that's not working perfectly.
What's with you and vehicles, man?
About
You know what?
a third of my request for services for property standards are complaints about abandoned vehicles.
And so if that's the,
Which
I
could
mean,
just be that they don't like that someone's parked in front of their house. Which could be, but in other cases, it really is a vehicle that's been there for a while.
So I think if I could, we have another committee meeting in this room right now, so we need to wrap up. But what I would like to do is, if you have those ideas, this is for codes to work through. Each one of us has a different job in addition to this job, so, or maybe we do. And some people might not, I do. But send it to the council office, please, and then I'll add that to my agenda with codes when we meet on a regular basis. You don't have to chase it down then, and we'll come back and they'll report in committee to us on the concerns that we've brought them. So don't feel the need to chase it down, but please provide as much detail as you can about it so that then they can address it.
And please also use our resource, which is our council liaison, Will Dodd, who's with us.
who's
Absolutely.
been awesome and very responsive.
All right, with that, I call the meeting to a close. We are adjourned.
Yeehaw.